Xenoblade Chronicles is cool. Oh wow, Mr. YouTuber got to the title within the first sentence of the video. Yeah, and normally, what I do a lot in this channel is I'll take a statement like that, or I'll take one aspect of Xenoblade and talk about how brilliant it is for story-wise perspective, or gameplay, or artistically, or musically, because Xenoblade is my favorite series of all time. I love it so much. But every now and then, I think it's important to just return to basics. Those first moments when you're a new player into Xenoblade, just looking out into these games and these brand new worlds before you knew all about the tragedy or the hope or the sacrifice, the character moments, the world design, the story, the plot progression, the foreshadowing, the parallels, the music, how they all come together into a cohesive, harmonious whole. Sometimes it's important to just take a step back and identify one of the most important aspects of Xenoblade in my opinion. And that is what I said was the first sentence of this video. Xenoblade Chronicles is cool. Like, look, sometimes, yeah, I do think all the story implications of a lot of the character design, story moments, foreshadowing, the music, how they all tie together, how they utilize pretty much every aspect of Xenoblade Chronicles to further or enhance the overall narrative experience. And yeah, I think the gameplay loop is very fun and satisfying when you get into the swing of it. Sometimes, though, we can just appreciate things when they're just cool. Take Xenoblade 1, for instance. The battle between organic life with the Harms, the Hyentia, the Nopon, and the beings of the Bionis versus artificial mechanical life of the beings of the Mechonis, whether it's the Mechon, the Machina, Faced Mechon, or whatever. There's a lot of cool story implications there that tie into the overall themes of us versus them when it comes to wartime. Concepts and themes of what it means to process grief and anguish and these basic human reactions and instincts to certain stimuli. There's a lot of interesting themes and dynamics that are going on in Xenoblade 1. However, when you first load up the game, what do they issue you with? They show you immediately, frame 1 by the way, once you get through the clouds, a giant robot fighting a giant rock monster. One has a mechanical sword and the other has a sword made out of light. And they're just duking it out on top of what I assume to be a massive ocean. That maybe has the depth of a swimming pool, but who cares about that? We got giant robots fighting. Where they move directly after that? Oh, a giant war on the now, frozen husks of these titans, frozen in time. Yeah, now the people who live on them are duking it out, having a massive battle between humans and machines. And you got this one dude, Dunban, who has, long hair, that kinda dresses like he should be from Fontaine and Genshin Impact, who has this very unique sword that has a blade of light, hint hint, and just starts one-tapping robots and everything. It's cool! You got a guy that shouts out, "It's Rhine time," and oh yeah, casting spells everywhere, climbing this seemingly dead body of the Bionis, to then go to the Mechonis. It's just cool. The visuals are engrossing, the game is just a cool concept made manifest. And sometimes it's okay to just be cool, because honestly, that's the first thing that drew me into Xenoblade. We move over to Xenoblade 2. I love sky continents, I do. It's one of my weaknesses. And that's essentially what All Rest is. With these giant titans that people live on the backs of, that some of them shoot giant laser beams. Say what you will about Jin, but he's just objectively cool, and no, that's not just a reference to his ice powers. Malos with that VA freaking chef's kiss. The whole concept of drivers and blades just feels like good shonen anime goodness. And then you have things like Siren, which is this giant robot that lives in outer space that answers to Pyra and Mithra's call, that just at any moment in time will send down a freaking ray of divine judgment on some jabroni, wiping out everything within the area code. And Xenoblade 2 just at moments makes you feel like a legit threat to the villains. How they're scrambling to react to you, it's cool. Do I even need to talk about Xenoblade 3? I mean, come on. It's a giant war between these various colonies that represent two different nations, and the way they fight is they move around in a giant mech to fight. You cannot tell me that you looked at Kamaravi and all the scenes he was in and walk away saying that wasn't cool. I just won't trust your opinion. I know that seems kind of extreme, but look at it! That entire scenario with Ethel and Kamaravi fighting against the Ouroboros crew, and what was one of the most memorable scenes from Xenoblade 3? Come on. It was the Mio punch. Why? Because it had a lot of cool story significance and all that, and tied into a lot of the themes and concepts between the struggle of choosing your own path in life or walking in an endless, essentially, circle of a path that takes you nowhere. No! I mean, sure, but finally a protagonist did something when the villain was monologuing. And not just that, knocked him into Kingdom Come, my god. Freaking landed the Mike Tyson on him. It's cool. It's just a cool scene. Remember when they transformed into the Interlinks for the first time? I mean, come on. They do a DBZ fusion to turn into a giant... I know they're not robots, but I mean, come on. Giant, totally not a robot. To duke it out against these giant monster aberration things called Mobius. Sometimes rule of cool is fine. And sure, while I would have liked the scale of Xenoblade 3 to be more in line with its concept art, go look at the Xenoblade 3 art book if you're wondering what I'm talking about. Like, seriously, we had, in that concept art, in that art book, we had Pharaonuses, like the one in Erythia Sea. That thing had tentacles, for the colony Mew, that thing had tentacles go to each island in there. It was massive. You had other colonies whose Pharaonuses, like, swirled around entire mountainsides. And they kind of seemed like they were 10 times bigger than what they were shown to be in-game. And think of it, what was the power-up for Lucky 7 in Xenoblade 3? It just cut better. It had a better edge. Why? Because swords are inherently cool, and you don't really need to, like, iterate on that concept more than we already have in this series. Sometimes, oh yeah, this sword, it cuts more, is sufficient, cause it's cool. Remember after all the freaking trauma that N put us through in Chapter 5, how we completely hit him with the Uno reverse in Chapter 6? It was hilarious. Why? Yeah, it had a bunch of story significance that was really cool, but really, that second part, it was cool. Xenoblade has this just innate ability to hype you up, to make you think like you're doing really something here, as if the tides are turned and now you're the boss. And sometimes I think it's okay to just be cool. And I think Xenoblade, more than a lot of other series, understands when it's okay to be cool and how to incorporate that coolness into the story. I mean, just look at the concept of Future Redeemed. We got the boys from the first two games, Shulk and Rex, back in action. Alphys, yeah, they're back, and there's two of them now. And what does the main character do in Future Redeemed? Yeah, he just punches people. Why does he punch people, not use another weapon? Because he punches people. Cool! Because he's got the fists of the end and actually have the Aegis core crystal in them. Who cares? It's cool! Matthew yelling he's full of beans when he uppercuts some jabroni right in the jaw. They could have just never explained that, and I would have been satisfied with it. Why? Because sometimes it's okay to just be cool. But then Xenoblade goes the extra yard and gives you an actual cool lore reason for it. Remember when the Tauren Titan in Torn of the Golden Country just laid waste to 3 Titans? Did we need that scene? Probably not, but who cares? It's freaking cool to look at. Remember the final fight from Torna? My god, that's my favorite fight in the entire series. Why? Because it's 2 giant robots duking it out in the background, and it's just a race against the final boss to get your giant robot to get the upper hand. Take Xenoblade 2, for instance, as well. Okay, so we have Pyra, right? She's a Fireblade. She then gets an upgrade to Mithra, who uses a light element for her attacks. What do they upgrade to? Well, they DBZ fuse into Anuma. What does she do? Oh, she just uses all the elements and shoots a bunch of laser beams. Oh yeah, and Rex basically gets a lightsaber that's way thicker. Like, yeah, there's a cool lore justification, character developing moment for each of those scenarios. But again, why do we remember them at the end of the day? At least for me, cause it's freaking sweet. Remember the feeling of hype you probably had when Rex got a new outfit and he became the master driver? Because you just knew he was about to absolutely discombobulate the enemy there. Like, you just knew that Jin and Malice were going to be in for a rough time then. And like, yeah, it's a basic formula that's kind of generic at this point, where you bring everyone very much down and you take away a lot of hope just to then give them hope and fight back and then win. Like, yeah, that's a very standard plot point, especially throughout the Xenoblade series, but why does it work? Because it feels good. There's a reason it's become a trope. Is because we're all just naturally suckers for the pure adrenaline and satisfaction that those scenes inject you with on such a consistent basis. Remember how hype it was when Shulk unlocked Monado 2? And you knew that the faced Mechon were about to have a facelift moment, but Shulk also realized that, so he was especially cocky? That scene in particular just freaking mwah, love it. So you may be asking, Jmulls, was the point of this entire video just for you to say how cool Xenoblade was, and to mention quite a few of the scenes you thought were especially cool? Yeah, pretty much. But here's what I want you to do. Leave a comment down below with what scene in the entire Xenoblade series. You can even go back to Xenosaga, Xenogears, or Xenoblade X if you play. Yeah, Xenoblade X, by the way, is just ruler cool the entire game. I'd be here the entire day just listing all the cool things in X. And if you're wondering what's the cool part of Xenoblade X, all of it. So leave a comment down below with what you think was the coolest or hypest moment you've experienced in Xenoblade or the Xeno series as a whole. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your stories. And make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified for when I upload and stream in the future. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games if you can, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye bye everybody, until we meet again.